before I switch to screen share, I wanted to make sure that I see some faces. This has been pretty cool to organize over the past few weeks, and more about this in a bit. And yeah, I'll just, we'll kick this off, and I'm just gonna share my screen. Can you all hear me fine? Thumbs up? Okay, awesome. Oh, not sure. Right. Okay. Can you see my screen all right?
Yes.
Yeah? Okay, awesome.
Yeah.
Well, welcome everybody. My name is Topaz, and I am the Growth and Strategy Lead at Distributed Compute Labs. And for those of you who are unfamiliar with who we are, so we are a nonprofit organization that is dedicated to accelerating science, discovery, and innovation through access to abundant compute power. And a lot of our work is around supporting Canada's and the world current and future innovators. And the way we look at this group of innovators, we do work with researchers in universities. We do work with developers because we see them as a key aspect of the innovation system. And we also do work with students through programming and events like this one. Because essentially we see all of you guys as today's and tomorrow's innovators. So that's a little bit about us. And I'm also one of the event organizers for this hackathon. So the other one is Van over there, Van Waves. So you probably have heard from us in the past 2 weeks or so. You will hear a lot from us. You will see us in red on Discord. But yeah, we've been putting this event together over the past 2 weeks, and it's been so exciting, a few weeks. And it's been so exciting to kick this off right now and meet a lot of you and students from all across the country. When we started planning this, we really didn't know who will show up, but the uptake has been really cool to see. And we are excited. And this is, I would say, this is a weekend of many firsts. I think for most of you guys, I would raise your hand if this is not the truth for you. But for most of you guys, this will be the first time you'll deploy a DCP app, which is a pretty exciting moment. And for us, it's a weekend of many firsts because A, this is the first hackathon we run as a nonprofit organization. So, so we are very excited to get this kind of programming kicked off. But it's also the first time that these many users will be onboarded into our platform, and this many first-time users. So we are very excited to be learning, experimenting, hacking, developing with you guys over the weekend. So that's probably enough about us, and you'll hear a little bit more about the technology and what we do through many different speakers today, but most importantly through experience and yourself. So let's talk a little bit about you and this weekend. So what? Oh, okay. So what's your challenge? So essentially the way we see the distributed computer or the platform that we use this weekend is really, it's like your own distributed personal supercomputer. And your challenge for the weekend is really to decide what you want to build with it. I'm sure I'll be surprised if there is not at least a bunch of gamers here in the crowd. So maybe there's a really cool game that you can reward people for donating their compute power. Maybe anyone here is interested in visualization, so even learning more about like GPU. We have a really cool demo that Ryan, I think, will post on Discord around like fractal rendering, which he's also shown in yesterday's workshop, so that's available in the video. If anyone is already big on machine learning and AI, or want to learn more, what a better time than this weekend. You should definitely be talking to Hamada, who is one of the mentors. He's also the head of our AI task force and has done a lot of cool stuff with DCP and AI. Blockchain, and as well as any researchers. We've really, the first people that we tested this platform with over the past few years have been researchers. Dan, our CEO, will tell you more about his background with research, but we have done some really cool applications from anything from like astrophysics to disease modeling. You hear Nazila today and her amazing work around looking glass and COVID-19. So really, the sky's the limit. And this weekend is about you guys exploring whatever is of interest to you and building whatever you like to see being built. In terms of the tools that we have for you, so you have, I think, 36 hours-ish, depends on when we actually start, but generally 36 hours. You will get exclusive beta access to the distributed computer. As I've mentioned, right now we are in beta phase, which means that there's only few developers around the world that have access to this platform, and this crowd will be the first cohort that will be using our platform. You'll get compute credits, so you can build whatever you want to build. And you also have access to a large group of students from across the country that could form some pretty cool teams and meet students from all across the country. And lastly, I think I mentioned a little bit before, we do have throughout the weekend around 10 DCP developers joining us as your mentors and as your support. Use them. They are all super excited to talk to you, answer your questions. They've spent, some of them, the past 3 years building this platform and are so excited to finally showcase it to the first users. So please use them. Any question, I think as a general rule, if you're stuck on something for more than 15 minutes, it's time to ask a question. Okay, so for those of you, so I talked a lot about like learning and hacking, and that's all cool, but some of you are like, okay, but show me the prizes. What am I doing this for? So on Sunday, we'll have a panel of judges. We'll share more about their details, and they're on the website. But essentially, first prize will get $300 in cash prize. Second team will get $200 in cash prize, as well as we have additional prizes such as access to DCP and compute credits post-hackathon for a bunch of our groups. Your projects will be judged on the use of technology, innovation, functionality, and presentation. So we'll talk more about that. But I think for us, more than anything, like build projects that you think are cool and are of things that you want to learn and experiment with. This is the #1 thing. This is what's going to get the judges excited too. So while there is a criteria here, don't worry about it too much. Okay, so I wanted to mention Discord server. This will be the heart of our hackathon. So I'm sure a lot of you guys, I'm sure there's gamers in the room. We've posted some instructions, but essentially this is where you'll form your teams. We have a lot of documentation and resources for those of you, as I said, that missed yesterday's workshop. The recording is already up there. This session will be recorded and will be up there. Wes, our CTO, has put together a help document for you guys that will be live, and we'll keep updating it. It's also where you find the mentors, and they have specific channels, and all the instructions are on Discord, as well as where we make announcements every day around what are the sessions for the day and anything else you need to know. And it's also a great place, as I said, to meet other students from across the country. Which is really one of the cool things of this being virtual, is we are able to bring all these people together, which we wouldn't if this event was in person. So take advantage of that. Same for our mentors. Make sure like they all are happy to give away their weekends to help. So make sure they're helping you and all of your questions are being answered. So one last comment before we get this actually kicked off. So one of the really cool things about organizing this hackathon is that Ben and I knew we wanted to reach students as part of this hackathon, and Ben is a UDC student. And we were thinking about some ways to do that and make sure that all of you are aware of this event. And we ended up partnering with a lot of student organizations across the country. So if you are one of the organizers of any of these organizations or a member, which I assume a lot of you guys are, we just want to say thank you so much for helping us promote this event. We're also super excited to host this event, partner up with a lot of you guys. We do have quite a lot of events planned like this and programming for students. So if you're an organizer that is looking to bring something like this to your campus or DCP to your campus, please come talk to me or Dan or any of our team members. But definitely us in red. So this is my last slide for you guys, and then we'll get this actually kicked off. So what does today look like? So right after me, I'll pass it on to Dan and Wes to give us our opening remarks. After that, we have Jack Tater over there in red, giving you an amazing keynote speaker, and I'll let him and Van tell you more about that. And then for any of you guys that have not got onboarded into the platform, we'll do a walkthrough to make sure that everyone is set up, no one is left behind. But in the meantime, the guide is in Discord. It is also in your email. I think I sent it now 10 million times. So feel free while you're listening to all these talks to actually get onboarded. Our mentors are waiting on Discord. So, you know, one of the great things about virtual events is the ability to multitask. So the two asks will be start forming your teams and follow the guide. And then at the end, if there's any of you guys that still are looking for a team, we'll do a team forming session. So that's it for me. You'll find me on Discord, and I really look forward to meeting you all. Dan and Wes, passing on to you guys.
So Paz, thank you so very much, and thank you for excellent work putting this all together. Hi everyone, my name's Dan, Executive Director of Distributed Compute Labs. I'm a physics nerd, so I did a lot of computational electromagnetics during my years, and needed a supercomputer to do a lot of the computing. But it's always been a challenge and a hassle to either A, muster enough computers to do it, or buy them on commercial cloud, or learn to program a supercomputer. So the whole mission and philosophy here was to make tapping into a supercomputer as easy as your normal everyday web dev experience. Only a couple of lines of code, abstract away the complexity, and be able to build really cool stuff. So I know I'm the only thing between you and hacking, so I'm going to keep this short and sweet. Rather than talk, I was going to show you what this looks like and how you can blow away not just the judges today, but also as you make some apps later on afterwards during the school year, you'll be able to completely impress all your friends and researchers and everything else and do cool stuff that no one else can do, because this is truly a new platform. All right, so I should be able to share my screen, and I'm going to do some computational astrophysics using your computers today. So step one, I need you all to go to dcp.work/demo, dcp.work/demo, and hit start. That's all you need to do, and you've instantly joined a supercomputer. Now your computer is ready to help the whole group power a bunch of cool stuff. So I'm going to mention this later, but we have a side prize that Topaz didn't mention. We're going to order and have a pizza delivered to the group that actually accumulates the most credits this weekend doing work for the whole group. So this is the engine that you're gonna leave running all weekend in the background as things happen, and that's gonna compute all the work that you're all deploying. Meanwhile, here's an example of something that you can build that will then get distributed, shared, and computed on all of your devices. This one.
Dan, can we do that on our phone too, or any other device, or is it?
You can do it on your phone, you can do it on your smart fridge, you can do it on whatever you have nearby to you that can open a web browser. That's the power of the distributed computer. So here's an example of a polishable application. It's a website. You can obviously program in Node, so we're not just limited to the browser apps, but whatever your dev experience is. And what we've done is we've created this little drag and drop for galaxy image files. So we're going to take pictures of galaxies up in space, and we're going to be able to measure the speeds of stars rotating around them. Now, don't worry, you don't have to make something this complicated this weekend, but I just want to show you how sophisticated the apps you can make with this platform really are. So I'm going to select Hubble Space Telescope imagery that actually that astrophysicists today are using to advance their science. I password protected my file, of course. So you can build this as well. Of course, if I get my password right, that will help. Now I'm going to send a bunch of slices to be computed by our group. And I'm going to only put, let's say, 50 slices to begin. And I'm going to make sure it's going to the demo scheduler. And we're going to hit compute. And the minute I do this, it's going to start doing some computations locally. And what you're looking at, this disk here, red means stars are coming towards us, and blue means that stars are going away from us in this galactic disk. And it even outputs a little graph here that's visualizable. So this is just a plot, you know, with that. I think it's Plotly or something like that. So think about that. Every single tool that you have access to in your web dev toolkit, you can now bring into a rich environment to display and do cool stuff with. So these initial computations just happened, and now they're being serialized and sent off to the network for execution. And if you go back to your tab, you should see these appearing and computing solely by the group. And that's in a nutshell how the distributed compute works. Now, under the hood, we're going to have the CTO explain in a nutshell how it works and so on and so forth. But you literally have, with about 4 or 5 lines of code, access to all of the hundreds of processors that are made available to you for this demo. So if you can see this, all tasks are already distributed simultaneously, all 50, across all of your computers. And the results are coming back in near real time right now. Normally, this would take hours. Right now, we're doing it in just a few minutes live over this demo. So of course, this is going to complete. It's going to come back to me. I get my results, and I get to show off cool astrophysics work that scientists are using today to infer the presence of dark matter in galaxies. So a bit of an advanced demo. I'm just going to show you something else. Another cool idea would be a game like Asteroids, or you can go and steal any existing JavaScript or HTML game on the net right now, and you can build into it the fact that you can win and lose some of these credits while you're playing the game. So I'm excited to see what you're going to build. It can be anything from games to blockchain to scientific compute or anything else. And so I'll hand that off now to Wes to explain sort of what's under the hood and what we're looking at here. Except for Wes might not be on. Sam, can I tap you on the shoulder to give a quick little overview of the basic components in the distributed computer and share some words of wisdom, and then we'll pass it back to Topaz.
Yeah, for sure. Hey guys, I'll be going over a more in-depth tutorial in a few minutes, but to just sort of summarize how DCP is going to work on your system, you're going to have access to this global scheduler. And how this is going to work is if you come up with this great idea where you have a highly parallelizable task, this is perfect for DCP. What you're going to be able to do is tap into our scheduler, and if you send it a task that uses a for method or any form of parallelized tasks, you can send it out to the scheduler, and we'll find any computers on our network. And using the power on DCP, each computer will evaluate a slice on its own. So by doing this distributed computing, we're able to solve problems a lot quicker. We're able to bring back results with very little latency. So a lot of these huge tasks like machine learning, where you need to do many of the same task repeated, it will be very, very useful to use DCP. So I'm looking forward to seeing what you guys can think up of in terms of getting parallel tasks and distributed tasks on the network. Yeah, that's it for me. I'll pass it back to Topaz.
And I will actually pass it on to Van, who will be introducing our next speaker.
Yeah, so I'd like to introduce our keynote speaker, Jack Tater. So Jack is the managing partner at Doyle Capital Management, which was one of the first firms to invest in DCP. He's been working with us for a while, and we're actually super excited to have his partner at Doyle Capital, Ron Kochman, as a judge for this event. So Jack is here today to share thoughts on startups and just working on creating transformative technologies. So I'm gonna hand it over to Jack now. Take it away.
Thank you, Van. And just the thumbs up that everyone hears me okay. All right, great. Thanks, everyone. First thing I want everyone to do is just make note, even in the back of your head, that you were here today, that you were involved in this, because a few years from now, there's going to be lots of people who are going to say that they were involved in this. But you guys really were here, and you guys were involved in this. This is a technology that is very, very exciting. We're thrilled about it. And I appreciate Van and Topaz pulling this together, and I appreciate Dan and Wes and the team having me be a small part of this. Hopefully, I'll keep you guys engaged somewhat. We're not going to be doing too much about hacking or all of those types of things, but I did want to talk to you a little bit about startups. And as I know most of you are students here, if not all of you are students, you're all now kind of starting out in looking for a career and thinking about what you're going to be doing for yourself. So you got an old guy like me. who's been around for a while. And I want to talk a little bit about what enthused me about DCP and also about the transformations that I've seen in technology. And I think what you're looking at today and what you're going to be working with over the weekend is a very exciting next stage of technology transformation. So with that, let me, given that I'm an old guy and I need, PowerPoints and all those types of things, I'm actually going to bring up or attempt to bring up. Van, can I do this on, I can do this. I can do this. I know I can. There we go. So did I do it or I didn't do it? I am doing it. Okay, great. So you see transformations there in my name, right? Okay, great. Thanks, guys. Thanks for bearing with me. I really appreciate it. As Van mentioned, my name is Jack Tater. I live in New Jersey in the USA. But you're wondering, who the heck is this guy? Who is this guy that we've got here? This gray-haired guy. We've got all this young stuff. What is this guy going to tell me about what I need to know to win the money and to venture forward on this exciting new platform? Well, here's a picture of me from a number of years ago. But as Van mentioned, I'm managing director of Doyle Capital Management. We are one of the, I guess, Dan, early stage investors, angel investors in DCP and KDS. I'm also co-author of Crypto Assets: The Innovative Investor's Guide to Bitcoin and Beyond, which you may see up there in the top. And I also want to make note of the fact that, you look me up on LinkedIn and I tend to connect with just about anybody who wants to connect with me who seems to be a regular person. And you'll see my resume up there that I've been 3 decades in financial services, including time as a financial advisor with Merrill Lynch. I was the director of marketing for Merrill Lynch. I owned one of the leading market research firms in the financial industry called Gem Research Solutions. And I also owned a media company, People Tested Media, which was sold in 2018 to a UK company, Rethink Press. But as with all of you, and as you work with people in the future, they are a lot more than just their resume and the skills that they bring to the table. So some things you may not know about me is that I actually spent time in film, and I was a production assistant. I was a producer. You can see me up on IMDb. And if you've ever seen a movie called 3 Night Stand, which was actually filmed in a sugar shack, or at least my scenes were a sugar shack up in Montreal, you'll actually see my face. For some reason, they chose me to be a participant in a bar scene. I thought it was a little bit of typecasting, but I figured if I'm going to break into acting, I may as well break into it with what I know. So there's a scene there where I'm involved. I also, and I'm going to talk a little bit about the technology that I've seen over my time, but as the owner of a research firm, and as someone who actually got his first job in technology and was very involved in technology, I actually created something called the iAsk Center. And you can actually, I was going to bore you with a short video on the IS Center, but you can go to YouTube and you can type in IS Center. And what you will actually see is the first, and I think only, focus group facility. I think many of you might know what a focus group is. That's where they bring somebody in and they ask them what do they think of stuff and they pay them and all these things. But we actually created a focus group facility in something called Second Life. And I don't know how many people know Second Life, but at the time, Second Life was a hot technology. It was something where you'd have an avatar and you would basically buy virtual real estate and you could create buildings, neighborhoods in this virtual reality, so to speak. We actually created, and we were one of the first companies to actually make money on this platform. And we had a business opportunity there where we were conducting research in this virtual community. There's actually an app out there called Decentraland, which is actually a blockchain and crypto-based application that's somewhat similar to it. Second Life got a little too funky. People were getting married in Second Life and they didn't tell their spouses in real life, and it got really, really funky. And that's why you don't hear too much about Second Life anymore. But the point here is that we took a look at our research capabilities and the whole competitive landscape about market research. And we took a look at a new technology that was coming up, and we tried to merge the two. And that type of imagination, that type of view of looking at how can technology help me, is what has led me to continue to take a look at other technologies. And I'm going to talk about something we call transformative technology and the stages of technology and how you take solutions and put them into these transformative technologies. I'm also an author of retirement and finance books, which when I combined the two aspects of my research background and my writing about retirement, that actually led me into Bitcoin, but I'll talk about that a little bit later. And then I'm going back about 18 years now to the first foray that I had into angel investing, which was with a company called TerraCycle. And I don't know if many of you have ever heard of the company TerraCycle. You probably know it from when you were younger and you collected juice boxes or juice pouches or something like that. And your school actually earned credits for that. And that was developed from TerraCycle. What's interesting about TerraCycle was started by a young man. He was a freshman at Princeton University, which is how I got to work with him. And he had an idea about, well, his concept was more around how do I solve the waste problem that's out there. How he kind of got to it was he started a company because he was hanging out with his buddies up in Toronto, and they were smoking some pot, and they said, how come this is so good? And the person said, oh, because I grow my own and I use worm poop. I swear you, this is how the company started. And he said, there's got to be a way that we can mass produce worm poop. So his company started by coming up with a concept to mass produce worm poop. And so that's where I came in. So I came in during the worm poop side, not during the smoking weed side. So I just want to be very clear on that. I know things are good up in Canada around all of that stuff, but I just want to make that clear. And I remember Tom brought me in and he needed some help on the business side. And he said, and then he said to me one day, he goes, I'm going to show you the gold. And he brought out a garbage can and it was about half full of worm poop. And I said, boy, Tom, that's great. I said, how long did it take you to create that worm poop? He said, about 6 months. I said, we've got to come up with a better idea here. We've got to come up with a better idea. He changed the model and he started selling spray worm poop in Walmart. And he decided that for him to accomplish his goals, he left school and he ran the company himself. Fast forward to 2018, they no longer produce mass worm poop. They are actually the leading company in the world for recycling anything that cannot be recycled, or that was considered not to be recycled. He recycles everything from cigarette butts to cans and bottles and everything else. And he has just started a company called Loop, L-O-O-P, which you will hear about because it is the concept of the, when I was younger, we used to have a milkman come and the milkman would bring milk. And then when the bottles were empty, they take the milk away. That is a concept that Tom has come up with and is being rolled out through the world now. He has leading brands that are connected to it. But this has grown out of his concept, not so much because he was developing something about worm poop, but because he wanted to create something that addressed the waste that's being collected in the world. And his goal right now is to have zero waste. So this is just one business that I've worked with and has watched it grow and change and transform. There may not be a lot of technology there, but all of these different aspects coming to play when you start to do your own businesses or move forward on whatever you do in your own career. And of course, the most important thing that I've been involved in is with my partner, Ron Kochman, who is going to be one of the judges. He's going to be the nasty judge, just to prepare you. He'll be the most cynical and nastiest judge on Sunday. And we are angel investors in KDS. I'm also a ham radio operator, K2WLD, and I'm a distinguished Toastmaster. Just want to put that out there to you. Now, let's talk a little bit about Bitcoin. What's funny is I was writing for MarketWatch as a retire mentor and writing stories on financial matters. At the time, I was running Gem Research Solutions, and I had an intern who worked with me. And just a quick aside about interns. I used to be a guest lecturer at the College of New Jersey, and I did it for a number of years. And I only had 2 people come up to me at the end of my sessions, and I used to do this every semester. I only had 2 people come up to me at the end of my presentation and say to me, Jack, do you have any internships? And those 2 people, one is now working in a leadership role in Johnson & Johnson. She had worked with me for a while. And the other person was a gentleman by the name of Ryan Lancelot. And Ryan was the first one. And I brought Ryan in, and Ryan worked at my research firm for a number of years. And I remember going to Ryan one day, and I said, Ryan, help me out a little bit. I'm hearing a lot about this thing called Bitcoin. Can you take a look at it for me? And he took a look at it, and a couple of weeks later, he came back with an 80-page write-up on Bitcoin. Ryan and I then worked on that, and we published, at the time, we published the very first book ever written about Bitcoin called What's the Deal with Bitcoin? And I wrote it with Ryan. And I fell down the rabbit hole from there related to Bitcoin. I combined that with what I was doing, writing about finance and retirement. And I started to think there's got to be a way, since Bitcoin is an investment, there has to be a way that I can integrate this into my portfolio. So I started to write about it. And the very first article I wrote was back in 2013 about Bitcoin belonging in your retirement portfolio. And I wrote a number of different articles. Now, I'm sure most of you are familiar with Bitcoin today. Back in 2013, 2014, 2015, there were many people out there who wanted to shoot anyone who was discussing Bitcoin and talking about Bitcoin. And what I included here on this page is just a little bit of the nice comments that I received from people, being called a moron, stupid thing to do, Jack Tater saying ta-ta to his money. These guys think they're clever and all these other things. Bottom line is, who's laughing now? Okay, so technology grows. If you believe in something, follow it through, and don't worry about what others say. I mean, I've got tough skin, and I enjoy putting this slide up whenever I do presentations. And I also wonder if those people who had said these things, if they had just put a little bit of money into Bitcoin, where they'd be today. There's a picture of the book, What's the Deal with Bitcoins, that I wrote with Ryan Lancelot. I'm actually you can get the book for free I'll give you a link for the PDF there. No need to buy that. Crypto Assets I wrote with Chris Berniski, who runs a venture fund now. And the man in the middle there, I'm not sure if there's anybody out there who is an economics major or finance major, whatever, but the gentleman who I'm there with is a gentleman by the name of Harry Markowitz. Harry Markowitz is the father of modern portfolio theory. He's also a Nobel Prize winner. And I remember reaching out to him because I was doing a lot of writing in the book about modern portfolio theory. And the thing that I wanted to do is I wanted to make sure that I was speaking correctly about modern portfolio theory. So what do? You reach out to the guy who created it. Sure enough, he responded back to me. And that's something you guys should know. Reach out to people. Invariably, you can contact and get a hold of people that we want to get a hold of. Harry invited me out. He's a teacher at the University of California in San Diego. He invited me out. I spent time with him. He was good enough to write a quote for the cover of the book. But the thing that I will tell you is if you ever have the opportunity to teach something to a Nobel Prize winner that they're not aware of, take advantage of the opportunity, because that was a great experience for me. I actually taught something to Harry Markowitz, who is a legend, Nobel Prize winner, about Bitcoin. And it was a great, great experience for me. So that's the book over there that kind of launched my exposure into Bitcoin. Here's a little thing. I know most of you know this, but this is an older chart, but still, you get the idea. If you put $100 into Bitcoin back in 2010, it'd now be worth $200 million. Okay, so how about all those people that were laughing at me before? Out of the book, Chris and I created the first taxonomy around crypto assets, and a couple of things I want you to note here. Obviously, we talk about Bitcoin. You see other projects there: Ethereum, Litecoin, Golem, a lot of different projects out there. These projects have grown. Some of them have gone by the wayside, but invariably they've created a platform for people to build on. And that's one of the things that you're going to be doing today, is you're going to be building on a platform that I think is going to change many, many things. I just finished reading a book that was the history of Ethereum, and it talked about the group of people who were involved in one of the first hackathons around Ethereum, and how they went off and created their own projects from this and used Ethereum as a platform. There's many similarities between what you're going to be working with DCP and Ethereum, but I think there may be a lot of similarities, but there's a lot of differences, and there's a lot of benefits that you're going to see that are above and beyond what there was out there in Ethereum. So I hope you're excited to be working with a new technology out there, in much the same way that a lot of these people who ventured into Ethereum and some of these other crypto assets were involved with as well. So I want to just talk quickly about transformative technologies. As I mentioned before, I run a venture firm, Doyle Capital Management, and our focus is on finding companies and investing in companies that are in the transformative technology area. When we first started to put together a venture fund, because of my background, a lot of people came to us and a lot of people said, oh, I have a crypto project, or I have something related to Bitcoin. And that was a lot of the initial conversations we had with companies. What we learned, and I don't know how many people are familiar with the whole crypto boom in 2017, the ICO boom, where people were throwing millions and millions of dollars at ICO projects without even having any thought about what the business was or what the projects were. And for the most part, you could have made money with any of these ICOs. You could have closed your eyes and just threw money at it, and you would have made money. The problem is most of those projects no longer exist. And ultimately, if you didn't get out early, you've lost all your money. But I remember during that time, my partner and I, Ron, our focus, and we're two business guys. Ron is the CEO of a Fortune 1000 company. I've been around the block, as you've seen, and I've been focused on finding business solutions. And we would have people that came to us and said, look, Jack, we want to talk to you because they knew we had money and we knew we had some experience. And we want to talk to you about your ICO, about our ICO. And we would say, don't tell us about your ICO, tell us about your business. And those people who could not articulate what their business model was and only wanted to talk about their ICO or only wanted to talk about how they were going to raise money, those are projects that we avoided. And what we started to focus on and what we started to realize is that we are at a point, the ICO boom and technology the way it is we are at a point right now where we have transformative technologies out there that are growing, that are seeking funds, that are providing a platform for people such as you to really use your creativity and be inspired and build into these technologies. This wasn't available when I was out there. When I was a computer science major at a university in the US, I remember my first computer course, and I remember spending all night at the computer lab, not working on a terminal, but waiting for my program to run, because we had to type the program on these little cards, and you had to wait. You had to get in a queue, wait for your program to run, get your program back, and invariably you left out a dot or a colon or something there, and you had to rerun the program. And that's why you were there all night, because the technology was such that this had to run on a mainframe computer. Now, I know you guys laugh about this now, but when I got my first jobs, I remember going through airports with a compact computer. That's COMPAQ. And a compact computer at that time was a computer that was about the size of a suitcase. And I don't mean a small suitcase, I mean a big suitcase. And I remember I had gotten a rolling thing that I used to take it on trips with me, and the screen was about this big. We worked off of floppy drives, and I used to take it on business trips with me. And that was, wow, that was amazing technology at the time. Well, obviously, we're well past that right now. Let me talk a little bit about one of the transformative technologies that's out there, and obviously something that we've invested in, and something that has grown out of Bitcoin, and that's called the blockchain. And I know most of you are familiar with it, but I think what's interesting is as you think about how the blockchain is changing things today, and how it's inspiring so much development, not only from new projects, but even from existing companies. IBM right now, which is a major technology company, IBM's profit, so much of it is now contingent upon what it's doing in the blockchain space. And 10 years ago, they didn't know what blockchain was. No one had any idea what the blockchain was. Now you have companies that even 5 years ago were poo-pooing it. Now they're saying, we've got to do things in the blockchain. They've seen the benefits of it. Here's actually a little write-up from a couple of Canadians, Don and Alex Tapscott, where they talk about blockchain technology as a technology that's driven by the falling costs of bargaining, policing, enforcing social and commercial agreements. The name of the game will be integrity, security, collaboration, privacy of transactions, and the creation and distribution of value. This is one of the key words that has grown out of the blockchain revolution, is distribution of value, and distributed technology. For those of you who may not be familiar with what the blockchain is a recording of a digital ledger that's on a distributed network, essentially worldwide, where there is no central point of authority, but the information is stored on everyone's workstation, so that it makes it easier to transfer information. There's no central point of authority. So if someone says we want to turn this off or we want to charge for it, that doesn't exist. So we now have a world that's decentralized. There's no need for that central certifying authority. And this plays into things for enhanced privacy, to do things about putting new applications on a distributed platform, where we don't have to worry, is this an Oracle solution? Is this an IBM solution? Whatever. This is allowing people such as you to go and create your own projects using your own technology through this blockchain-based transformative technology. It truly is a transformative technology, but it's really not a technology. It's a concept utilizing technology. And when Chris and I wrote Crypto Assets, we saw the benefits to blockchain technology. And this is a quote from the book where we talk about this technology really going beyond what Bitcoin is. And it really is creating, and these are words that we wrote a number of years ago, it really has allowed a platform to grow from which future innovations are built. And, there's examples of these transformative technologies like steam, electricity, and internal combustion engines, and information technology. We'd add blockchain to that. It seems grand at the time, but we're now seeing that concept of blockchain, which nobody knew before Satoshi wrote his white paper, no one knew, or very few people knew about it. Now it's a platform that future innovations are being built on. And I'm telling you today that what you will be working with over this weekend is something that is akin to what the blockchain platform is today and what people will be working with in the future. These are some applications that we see for blockchain technology. This is actually something that's drawn up by a company called Flurry, which is a company that we've invested in that now has contracts with the US government, is growing, and is a leading Web3 company. But their concept was to create something that would allow blockchain technology to be done easily. And this is just a view of the applications that are being created utilizing blockchain technology. I invite you, when you start to develop applications for DCP, to take a look, to have a very open mind, and to think about, once you understand what DCP is, and once you get your arms around the vision that Dan and his team have created here, you will be thinking much the same way as thousands and thousands of developers are today, thinking about use cases and projects for blockchain that are going to transform how we do business in the future and how we do business even today. So just a list of that. And also, if you notice, on the side, I talk a little bit about the money that's been invested in these areas. In the manufacturing area, it's anticipated that you'll have $500 billion invested in applications that are being created on blockchain technology. I think you're going to see the same type of thing with DCP. So let's talk a little bit about transformative technologies. And some of this may be things that you're already aware of. I talked a little bit before about software. I remember the days when we used to write on cards, and we used to have a whole stack of cards, and every one card would be one line of code. And that was how we did programs years ago. Now it's very, very different. Now, not only do we have programming languages, but we have this codeless revolution where you don't even have to know code. You can just say, here's what I want this to do. And the software will work that way. Very, very exciting. That's a transformative technology. Blockchain is a transformative technology. What Dan is doing by taking his essentially hardware-driven solution and putting a software layer onto it to allow people to develop on this platform is another transformative technology that is going to transform how we do things from the software level. Hardware, look, I've been through, I remember, I'll tell you a quick story. I remember being on the QE2, which was a major cruise liner, one of the biggest, grandest cruise liners. And at the time, the company DEC, Digital Equipment Corporation, which was a leading manufacturer of mini computers, they brought in the QE2 into Boston Harbor. And they were celebrating the fact that DEC was now higher in value, stock price, than IBM at the time. And they brought us all in and celebrated with all their major customers. DEC, now you haven't even heard of it. You don't even know about DEC anymore. They were bought by Compaq, which was bought by HP, blah, 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 ad nauseum. But that was part of the transformation from mainframe to mini computer to small computers. In fact, I was one of the first people when I worked in a CIO role, which at the time was Chief Information Officer role with Avon Products. I was one of the first people to test the original Apple Macintoshes, and I still have in my office an original Apple Macintosh with the signatures inside of it. There is something, you look at that now and you're like, come on, give me a break. That was revolutionary. That was a major step in the transformation that we've seen. The internet, look, we don't even have to go over what the internet has brought to the way we do things today. I still remember many years ago being all excited about using something called Mosaic, which was a browser, and I had to get the only way I could use it was to get to SUNY Albany, State University of New York at Albany, and run it there so that I could get onto a bulletin board or a chat group. I forget what we called it there. and I was using the internet. And I still remember coming home from work one day and my wife said, you know, we got to get on this thing called the internet. You got to find out about the internet. And I was a technology guy. And, but at the time, it wasn't the easiest thing to get on. Now we see what it is. I'm going to talk a little bit about Web 1, 2, and 3, and all those different aspects that are out there on the internet. But I want you guys to remember, as you're developing on these tools, there are a lot of old guys like me that went through the stages of the transformations, and you can learn from what happened in the past and where we are today and have respect for it, but also be able to recognize that this is part of the process of moving forward. Media, I mean, media is, we've seen how that changes. I remember having a newspaper route when I was a kid. Well, you guys don't even know what newspapers are anymore. Why should we have newspapers? You have everything online. One of the reasons I started a publishing business was because I recognized how easy it was to self-publish and create books. And now, for the most part, book publishers are headed for the hills because people are publishing their own books and they're getting their own ideas. One of the nicest things that I've had in my career was when I ran a book publishing company and I was able to give people the opportunity to publish a book. In the past, it was like, well, I've got to go to the big players, McGraw-Hill, Random House, all of these other, and send them an idea. And invariably, people's dreams of publishing a book were shot down very, very quickly. Well, with the publishing model that we have right now, you can do that. And I remember so many people that I helped publish their books through my book publishing business saying to me, thank you. I can't wait to tell my mom or dad that I published this book. And they were able to use this to grow their business or just do whatever they wanted to do. And media, we're still seeing changes out there in media. I mean, the way you consume videos and the way you consume content, all of those different types of things. Finance. I was a guy who was a stockbroker and used to call people up on the phone, used to cold call. You can't cold call now, but just the whole concept of finance and the fact that at the time, if you wanted to buy stock, you had to buy it through a stockbroker. Thank goodness that's not the case anymore. Now you can go on and do it yourself and you can use these sophisticated tools. That's just one piece of finance. The other piece of finance is what we're seeing with Bitcoin and how Bitcoin is changing the whole concept of how we take a look at fiat, how we take a look at interest rates, all of those different things. I mean, the whole concept of decentralized finance that's out there today is making major, major waves. 5 years ago, you had people like Jamie Dimon, he's no longer Jamie Dimon. He's actually embracing Bitcoin. But 5 years ago, I used to enjoy calling him Jamie Dimon. And his company they just dismissed Bitcoin. Well, now that they've understood how they can make money on it, now they're embracing it. And now they're recognizing how this can impact their bottom line as well. Manufacturing, you've seen all the changes with manufacturing. One of the companies that we're very excited about is we've invested into a 3D printing company. We believe that 3D printing is going to change so many things out there. So that technology is a transformative technology. Retail. It's very interesting. Many of you, I'm sure you use Amazon, but you may not be like me who remembers when I first started. And I remember when Bezos started the company. And the reason that he did it with books is because books had a very simple model. Every book has a price on it, maybe $20, $30 on it. 50% of that goes to the retailer. Okay, 50%, clear as mud. That's how it was done from the book publishing area. So when Jeff Bezos, who named his company Amazon, because Amazon is the longest river in the world, and now he is distributing everything. His concept is being realized now. But back then, people saying, why is he calling it Amazon when he's selling books? Reason was he was selling books because it was an easy model for him to exploit. He knew that 50% of that was going to the retail channel on every book, not to authors, not even to the creation of it, but 50% was going to the retail channels. He cut that and was able to undercut so many different publishing businesses, built it on books, and then went to other products and so forth and so on. And one of the ways that I look at transformative technologies is I incorporate Jeff Bezos' line there. Jeff Bezos said, "Your margin is my opportunity." And that's what he did with the book, with the book business. Transformative technologies to us are taking technology with the Jeff Bezos concept, your margin is my opportunity, and how does it improve my life? Very important. How does it improve my life? So this isn't all about the technology. This isn't all about the business aspect. So much of it is also, how does it improve my life? And if you look at all of these different aspects and what we have today and what we have with transformative technologies, they should be out there. They should be improving people's lives. They should be giving people opportunities to sell and consume products easily. Here's the thing that's been written up about Web 1, Web 2, Web 3. This is a revolution I think you see going on right now. And it may often be something that people may refer to this technology that Dan has as kind of a Web 3.0. I think it's more compelling than Web 3.0. But we're moving away from Web 1.0, basically just read only. We're now in Web 2, where we've got blogs, we've got sharing of content, we've got interactive advertising. Now we're moving to something called Web 3.0. And I'm not sure that anyone has really outlined exactly what it is. And I still think that it can still be created out there by people like you about what Web 3.0 is, and how it's different from even the web that you know today and the web of the future, where payments are integrated, smart applications are integrated. The web knows what you want even before you know what you want. All of those different types of things, while also recognizing, how does it improve my life and how does it protect my privacy and all of those types of things. So, I put a little thing up here just for Dan. I used to say to Dan, the easiest way for you to describe your business is 2 words. You know, everybody needs a 5-minute elevator speech. And I'm going to tell you, every one of you out there, when you develop a business, you got to have your elevator speech. And I say this tongue in cheek. I don't know how many of you out there have ever seen the show Silicon Valley. Okay, many of you have. What Dan's created, yes, it's Pied Piper. It is Pied Piper. It's the new internet, okay? It's much more than that. But if you can get your arms around what they were trying to create in Silicon Valley, Dan's created it. And he's created it so much better than those freaking knuckleheads in Silicon Valley, okay? He really has. He really has. But I'll put that aside there. What Dan has done is he's created something called the distributed computer. It's interesting. For those of you who know Ethereum used to call themselves the global computer, whatever. It was going to be the platform that everyone was going to build on. What Dan has created is the distributed computer. It is not only something you're going to be able to build on, but it is something that everyone can contribute to and everyone can benefit from. What Dan showed earlier was an application, and I'm going to step back a little bit and I'm going to take a little bit of his thunder away from him. But he did a presentation recently where that disk fit application that he showed, which maps the universes and all of this other stuff, I mean, amazing amounts of data, was something that was run on a supercomputer, a legitimate Cray supercomputer, something that the Canadian government said, oh, hey, you want computer power? We're going to wheel this thing in. It costs millions and millions of dollars. You're going to run your program on it. What he did the other day was he took that program and ran it on a computer network at Queen's University. I think it was about 40 computers or something. Ran it on this network at Queen's University. And they ran this program. And they not only ran it once, ran it 1,000 times, 1,000 iterations of this, and did it in about 4 minutes. The person who ran this, the person whose computer program it was, blew everybody away when they asked, well, how long did it take you normally to run this program? And she said, well, we haven't run it more than 100 times. We ran it 2,000 times in 4 minutes. We haven't run it more than 100 times. And if I'm not mistaken, she said that when we tried to run it 100 times, it took not 4 minutes, not 4 days, but 4 weeks, 1 month. Am I right there, Dan? Or am I overdoing it a little bit? Was it a month?
It was a week.
It was a week. All right. Well, you can see I'm a venture guy. It's still, and it's an amazing thing because it wasn't a supercomputer. It was people's idle compute time. Okay. Computers that are left up sleeping, that are in these huge buildings where the people go home, they don't turn their computer on, they leave it running all night long. Idle compute time using electricity can now be harnessed to improve the performance of programs such as this DisFit program and allow people to get high computational programs to run quicker and more efficiently. It's no wonder that Dan's DCP is helping Canada to address the COVID-19 crisis. He has created a research platform for people to put in research data and run it quickly and efficiently so that we can identify solutions for opening up the country, solutions to research, solutions to diseases. I know one of his team has been working on something addressing Lyme disease and other diseases to try and find solutions quicker, improving lives and benefiting the community. Here is what this is. So much of what Dan's DCP is all about. I just want to quickly, I know I'm running and I can go on a little bit, but I want to talk to you guys out there who are thinking of creating a startup. And what are those aspects that maybe I can help you out a little bit to recognize that you need to be concerned about? The 4 Ps. One is passion. Do not get involved in a project or a startup that will take so much of your time, so much of your energy, if you don't have passion about it. You guys are living in an amazing time where you can basically come up with an idea that you're passionate about and create it through code, through whatever. Every startup should begin with passion. The person behind the startup should be passionate about what they're creating. Everyone on the team should be passionate about what they're creating. Second P is priorities. Recognizing that any type of startup, any type of business, any type of entity that you create, you have to have certain priorities. You have to know what's the mission of this. What is my ultimate focus around this? When I talked about my relationship with Tom and how he started from smoking weed with his buddies to creating something, trying to create worm poop, his real priority, his real passion in life was to do away with landfills and to do away with waste. And that mission has carried him from creating worm poop to now creating this new platform called Loop. He's had his eye on priorities. The other thing I will tell you too is when you are involved with a startup, you've got to recognize that it takes a lot out of you. It takes a lot of energy out of you. You've got to take care of your health. It may take a lot out of your family and your relationships. You've got to make sure that you have your personal priorities in line as well. Creating a startup is great, but also recognizing what's most important to you is first and foremost your priority. Patience. I mentioned Tom. 18 years I'm waiting as an angel investor, some payout from this. Now that's just me, but I take a lot of joy in the fact that Tom has built something that he's passionate about. And I know ultimately it's going to impact lives and change lives. But recognize when you do a startup, you need patience. As much as you think something is going to happen quickly, things get in the way, obstacles get in the way, whether it's money, whether it's resources, whatever, things get in the way. You have to be prepared to be very, very patient and recognize that whatever you're looking to grow is going to take time. The other P is partners. You've got to have the right partners out there. And that's not just your own team that you're involved in. You've got to, when you bring people on board, You've got to make sure that you work together as a family, work together as a team, and recognize that some people may not last through the whole journey. You may have to make some hard choices, some hard changes there with people who were part of the family, if it impacts your ability to achieve what you want to achieve with your startup. The other thing is, the other two aspects from a startup is your advisors that you're involved with. And I can go on and on about choosing the right advisors, but those advisors should be focused on your goals, not just on their goals. And the same thing with your venture money that you bring in. A guy like Tom never brought in any venture money. He felt he could go it alone. I think it's a big reason why he's doing 18 years. But the partners that you bring on board, they should be people focused and fit into the passion and the plan that you have for your startup. They shouldn't just be a resource for money. If you view them as just a resource for money, they will view it as well, and they'll be more focused on making money than helping you to realize your vision for your business. Look, change is going to happen. As I mentioned before, you will lose people. You will actually maybe even change your business plan as you go through this, just as Tom changed from worm poop to what he's doing today. You've got to be flexible. You've got to basically take a look at it and say, this is the way to go. This is what I've got to change. And maybe I have to let go of people or make some changes in terms of management. The other thing that I think is important as well is you may be involved in a startup, or maybe you and one other person. And this may be your dream. Your dream has always been to be part of a startup. You need to recognize too that the people that you bring on board and that are helping you to do this, everybody from a person who's coding to anybody who works with you, they have dreams too. And they are placing their dreams with you. So the dreams that you have, you need to recognize, yes, they're your dreams, but they're also the dreams of others who are involved with you as well. You have to stay cognizant of that. The people that run startups that don't recognize that the people who are working for you, who are bringing their passion every day to help you achieve your vision, that's part of their dreams as well. So recognize that the dreams of your team and the dreams of those who are working with you need to be recognized as well. And the last thing I think that you want to recognize is just gratitude. As much as you have guys like Jeff Bezos, Elon Musk, who may think, this was my vision, I created this, I built it. They know that there were others there who helped them. There were others there who paved the way for them. And they are grateful. They should be grateful to people like that. And the other aspect of this is giving back. I've been successful enough to start a number of businesses, to have met many, many people throughout the world, travel around the world, great people out there. And Ron and I, we like to give back. We will get involved in projects that maybe we don't have any financial benefit from, but we believe in the people. Ron and I can tell you, we've, in our role, we've paid people's rent. People have called us up, they've had a bill or something. We've done things that normal venture capitalists maybe don't do. But a big part of that is to show our gratitude. And what you give comes back to you. So remember all these things when you're doing a startup. So I invite you, I know we have a little bit of time for questions. So I invite you, I go back to Dan's question. What are you going to build with your own distributed supercomputer? When Dan fills you in on the capabilities that you have with DCP, the world is your oyster. Go and build and stay with it and tell others about it. Because I will tell you that in about 5 years from now, you're probably going to have a few hundred people, and there's 20-something people who are involved. You're going to have a few hundred people who were like, oh yeah, I was there. I was there with DCP when they first started. I was involved. You guys weren't there. Build and keep building on this platform, and view Dan's company as a resource. The last thing I'll say here, and Dan didn't bring this up, but I'm probably saying a lot of things that maybe Dan is saying, Jack, I wish I hadn't said that, but I don't really care. I'm an old guy. I don't really care anymore about that. But Dan had a hackathon in Kingston, and person built an application there, student built an application there called AI Site. AI Site is now working within KDS, and Dan is helping their resources. And AI Site had also received funding from the COVID-19 project as well. So you're working with a company that is still growing with some of the best talent in all of Canada, are part of KDS. Create something kick-ass this weekend. Create an amazing application. Create something that Dan notices, that the rest of the team notices. And if you do, you may not be able to shake yourself of Dan and KDS. If they see talent, they're going to want your talent, and you're going to want to be in this platform going forward. So I don't want to hold you up from writing code. I've probably bored you enough. Doyle Capital is the name of our company. Jack Tater is my name. If you guys would like 2 free ebooks about Bitcoin, there you are. It's the least I can do, give you a couple of free books. But what I'd like to do now is, if I still have any time, Van, Topaz, if I have any time, if there's any questions that are out there that anyone is silly enough to think that I'm of any value to answer, please, I'm willing to answer.
Yeah, we have some time for some questions. So if people want to type them up in the chat, if they don't have a microphone, and if they do have a microphone, feel free to just unmute yourself and ask any questions you may have. Yeah, go ahead.
Were you guys okay with my accent? You guys were okay with my accent? All right. Okay, thanks. Any questions out there? How about you, Dan? Got any questions for me?
I was going to say, your radio voice is excellent, Jack.
I have a face for radio, as I've told you many times before.
No, I want to thank you and reaffirm to everyone in the group that, yes, not only am I trying to spot good, talented people, but so is Doyle Capital Management. Jack didn't mention this, but they also backed up AI Site. So cool apps will attract attention today, and you could end up accidentally creating a company. Anyway, we just want to see the cool stuff that people can build, and encourage them, and we'll be there to support them, and we'll see you over the weekend.
Good. Van, any questions? If there's no questions, let's get right to it. Let's get these guys creating the next big application. They don't need to hear from me anymore.
Yeah, if there are no questions, we'll give a virtual round of applause to Jack. Thank you so much for coming out. Great talk.
Thank you all. Good luck. Good luck to all of you, and knock 'em dead. And remember, Sunday, you're going to have Ron Kochman there. He may be nasty, he may be cynical, but he's a real sweetheart. Okay, so so knock him out. All right, show him what you got.
Thanks again, Jack.
Sure.
Okay, so I'm gonna pass it over to Sam now to help you guys kind of get started if you haven't signed up yet or seen the technology in action. So Sam, I'm gonna hand it off to you.
Thanks, man. So today I'll be going over a quick tutorial. I hope you guys can all hear me. Let me know in chat if you cannot. Oh, I accidentally left. Okay. I'll be going over a quick tutorial. If you guys are already set up on DCP and you have a team, that's great. You guys feel free to get started coding already. If not, we'll be going through this presentation step by step. It will be recorded, so if you guys want to go back, check any other steps, feel free. And let me know if there's any technical difficulties throughout. I'll try to keep an eye on chat. I'll share my screen here. Let's see if this works. You guys see that? Yep. Okay, perfect. This is the main guide we want to share with you guys when you're going through your coding. It will be shared with you through your email already, and it's pinned in Discord in the general chat. So check it out if you want to. I'll be going through a few of the preliminary notices that you'll want to keep in mind when you're coding, and then we're just going to look through some of the examples and how to get started. The first thing that you want to note when you're coding with DCP is that everything starts with the account. We have a portal, and the most important step first is to sign up on our portal. That will give you access to free credits that you'll be able to deploy your projects on. We have a link to the portal here, and I think there's a link here, yep. And we'll be going through how to set that up and creating the first account. So if you guys have heard floating around, we'll tell you that there's deploy access for you guys this weekend. And what does that mean? It means that you guys can, when you register for a new account, you'll be given, on top of the credits, deploy access, which means you can deploy your jobs directly to our network on a distributed computer. Whenever you deploy, it will use up some of your credits, and we've made sure to give you 25, which is safety net for you guys to deploy lots of applications throughout the hackathon. There's 3 notices just to keep in mind before we get started, and I'll go over these later on so they make more sense in context. The first thing to notice is that your credit balance will be under your accounts tab. And it's important to note that you might not see your 25 credits immediately. It's just because the registration process takes a bit of time, but it should only take a few minutes, and after you log out and sign back in, you should be able to see your credits just fine. Secondly, it's the note that you can deploy either locally or globally. So DCL has the option that when you're testing out your programs, you can specify that you're using local exec, which will allow you to deploy your programs to your own computer and run them. This will be really useful because you guys don't have to use up the 25 credits that we gave you right away. So you can do as much testing as you want on local exec before you're ready to use just exec, which is the global version of execution, which will give you the full portal and all the speed that comes along with it. The last note that I just want to go over before I get into the steps to set up is we advise you guys to use the demo scheduler that we've set up for this weekend. In a lot of the tutorials and notes, you'll see that the URL for our scheduler will be pointing to scheduler.distributed.computer. But if you guys want to use the demo scheduler, which will be a lot faster for this weekend, we recommend you guys use the demo scheduler. These are the 2 different methods to deploying. You can either deploy through Vanilla Web or Node, and this is how you specify your demo scheduler in that, but we'll also go through that later on when I revisit that in the tutorial. So this is where, if you want to just get started with the tech, we have a getting started guide here, which will link you to a step-by-step guide for getting started. Just an important note here, the first paragraph will tell you that you will only be able to deploy if you've joined our early developer program. Now that's not the case for this weekend, as when you guys sign up at any point from today up to the end of Sunday, you guys will get both deploy access and credits to use. So don't worry about that notice at the top. So we're going to go through the developer guide here, and I'm going to show you a bit of setup. There's 4 important parts to go over in this tutorial, and that's registering for an account, setting up your key stores, getting your develop environment all ready, and then deploying your first job. If you guys haven't started with registering an account, the link to the portal is right here. I'm going to go back so I can reference this. I'll open up a new tab. Oh, my bad. Sorry, guys. Here, I'll type it out for you guys. It's portal.distributed.computer. So if you'd like to start a new account, you can register. I'm going to register a new email, and I'm going to choose my password. I'll select developer role, and I'll hit continue. So it's going to send me a verification email. So I'll quickly go onto my phone, and what it will do is it'll give you a link that will send you to the portal, and you just have to click a button to be able to verify that it is you. If you guys can't see the email, make sure to check your spam folder because it may have gone there. But in my case, I found it straight in my email. I'm going to hit continue. And so that seemed to work on my phone. Let me refresh here. Sorry, this, can I drag this around? I can't actually see this button. Oh, there we go. I clicked it. Okay, this is my new account here. I'm able to log in here. You see, now that I verified, there's a few tabs that you want to note when you're in the portal. This is the welcome page. It will give you links to everything you need to get to at the time. There's also a profile page here. You don't have to fill out all of this information, but it will just give you a better identification of who you are on the system. The important thing to note here is the identity keys that you can create one, and that will be used for deploying your jobs. We'll get back to that later on. Perhaps the most important tab here is the worker tab. So here you'll see an interface. It will give you the store that you're using. This is basically your wallet. And when I click start here, you'll see I pick up a bunch of, we call them slices. And so now my computer is working as one of the workers on our distributed network. And it's picking up lots of tasks. You can see here electrodynamics at home. It's helping solve a lot of tasks. And as these slices finish, they'll give you credits here. And you can see the credits you've earned, as well as the slices you've completed and the computing time. When you're able to complete credits, they'll be deposited into your accounts page here. You'll see you have a default account. And for me, the balance is 0 because I haven't finished any jobs yet, but that will work up as I get credits. It's important to notice here, you'll also get a new wallet with 25 credits in it, but you have to wait a few minutes just to get it all set up. We'll go back to the developer guide to see what's next. As you can see, we've gone through the worker tab here. We'll slowly earn credits in the background as I have it in another tab. Yeah, we've gone over the accounts page. Let's, in fact, now that we're in the time to set up our key stores, I'll go here and I'll check. I'll re-sign in just to check if my, yeah, there we go. Okay, so I have my new wallet here. It's got the 25 credits already. And so the first step we want to do is we want to download this. Now you notice it'll want to call it August 2020 hackathon.keystore, but it will actually make it easier if you guys call it the default.keystore. That way, when you're deploying your programs, you don't have to worry about what it's going to be called. The program will automatically search for it. So I'm just going to put it in my home directory here in SAM. So the other thing you want to generate from the website is the identity keys that I talked about earlier. You can go to your profile here, and when you scroll down here, it will give you the option to create a new identity key if you press the green plus button. If I create one here, I can just call it ID. I'll continue, and you see it has it created right here. I'm going to want to download this ID key store, and you can put a passphrase in if you want. Just because I'm lazy, I'm not going to put in the password, and this means it won't prompt me when I want to deploy on this key store for later on. I'm going to save it in my home directory again, and there we go. We have both the default key store and the ID key store downloaded, and that's everything you'll need from the portal to get started with your applications. There is some setup you have to do with the key stores right before you start with your applications. You're going to want to put it in a folder called .dcp. Now, the location for this will change from Windows to Mac to Linux, but we've included a step here to point you towards where that default location will be. I'll show you guys here. If I have a terminal up, you'll see I have my default key store and my ID key store, and I'm going to want to move them to my default or my .dcp folder. So if I do the copy command, I can take my default key store and move it to .dcp. So that's worked. If you guys tried that and it might have not worked, it means you need to create a new folder. So you can make a new folder here. I use make directory and I type in .dcp. For me, it says that the directory already exists, so I'm good to go, but make sure you guys do that if you couldn't figure out why it wasn't transferring. So I'm going to transfer both my default key store and my ID key store into this folder called .dcp. So now, if I want to take a look at, if I want to navigate to my DCP folder, oh, what did I do here? How did I do that? Okay, so a fun fact there, I actually created .dcp as a file and not a, what is going on here? Okay, sorry about the confusion, guys. I already had a system set up here, so you guys will hopefully not run into any of that confusion, but I will be around here to mentor you guys. If you guys hit any of this confusion, I'll make sure to lead you through it. But the main reason that it didn't work for me was because I already had a system set up, so you shouldn't have to worry about any of that. So you can see here in my .dcp folder, I did a list all contents, and you can see that there's nothing in it right now. So I'm going to go back to my home directory, and the two things that we talked about before is the default key store, and I want to put that inside my .dcp. If you're anywhere else, you can specify your home directory and then .dcp. And then I also want to do the same thing for my ID.keystore. So now if we check our .dcp folder and list the contents, we should see perfect. We got the two key stores there. That's exactly what we need to be all set up. Now we're going to get into the step of setting up your development environment. And this will vary from user to user, as you're given two options. You can either set up through Node.js or you can do a vanilla web. I'll be showing you examples of each, but first I'm going to show you how to set up your Node environment. The first thing you want to do is make sure you have Node installed. We have a link here to the Node page, and it will give you lots of instructions on how to get started and how to get it installed on your system. If I navigate to my directory and you type in node-v in your terminal, if you're using Mac or Linux, you'll be able to see that it's all set up. But again, if you have Windows 2, there's an install process through this link, and it will make sure you get all set up. Now, when I want to create a new project, I'm going to have to first create a new folder. So I'm going to make a directory, and I'll call it DCP demo. So now if I want to move into that folder DCP demo, I'll see I have a completely empty project here. The first thing I want to do when setting up this empty project is to go into the terminal and run this npm init. It's also important to note that here, I'll go through the default names and then I'll go back to that note I was going to say. I just like to hit enter to all these. If you guys like to be specific, that's okay, but this will get you a good starting development environment. If you guys were all confused by me navigating through folders here, again, I can just go into my DCP demo here and create a new folder if you guys want in the file explorer. That's perfectly fine as well. I'll close out of this. And so now that we have our npm init, you can see it will create a package JSON for you. If I list the contents of this folder, it will have a package JSON. Now that you have this, you'll be able to install npm module. And the most important one that we need to install is Distributed Compute Lab. So we'll install the DCP client, which will allow you to interface with our supercomputer. So if I do npm install DCP client, you'll see it'll install it for you. Takes a bit of time, but it should be done fairly quickly within the next few seconds, I think. Depends how fast your internet is. Mine's not super fast, but that's okay. And as it's installing here, there's a link here to let's see if I can open this up. This will give you an example of how to set up or how to create your own project. So this events.js is the main thing you want to look at here. And this is the JavaScript file that gets you started on, this is an example deployment on Node using DCP. So if you really want, after you can see it finished, there's 0 vulnerability. If you just want to test out, you can open your code editor of choice. If I type code here, it will open VS Code. So here I'm in my DCP demo. And if I want to get started with the super simple application, I'll just create a new file and I'll call it index.js. So for now, if I want to just try out some of the examples, I can take all this code here. If I want to try it out, copy it and put it in here. And you're already ready to go just like that. I won't download an update for VS Code just yet. It can wait for now. Okay, and it's super simple. If you want to run your program, if I see here, my index.js file, which I just created, is now in my folder, and I can run node index.js. An important thing to note that we went over earlier is that if I can reach this, and I go up, it's important to, when you're running your file, add the scheduler argument. So you do that by doing -- scheduler equals and the scheduler you want to add. So because we want to use the demo scheduler today, we're going to copy this and we're going to run node index.js. Oops, I forgot to put the -- scheduler here. -- scheduler equals this. And so now we can deploy, hitting enter here. You say it, you can see the steps here. It's executing, deploying. It's checking your fees and your bank account, which is the default key store that we set up. And now that it's accepted it, it's now sent it out to the network. So now we have a bunch of slices running on the network. You can see it was super fast. They all came back to me. And you can get info on how long these examples took. I'm not going to go too much into exactly what the example did. It just did some computations on colors and returned some statements for you. Let's see what the next, oops. I accidentally left the page here. Let me go back to the tutorial. So that was how you can deploy a node. It's super simple. And if you guys want to change up how your worker function works, the first step that you do is you have your main function. There's two things that you want to require when you're using the JS file. It's the compute, which will allow you to send out computing tasks on the network, and your DCP wallet, which if you want to be able to send out something to the network, you need to pay for it. So when we use DCP wallet, it can find our key stores that we set up earlier to be able to pay for our task. The job is the main thing that you want to run for your task. So if we access our compute module that we required, we can specify what our job wants to do. So because we have a for statement, what we're going to do is loop through this array, and every element of the array will be sent to the distributed network. So instead of our computer having to do every single one of these computations for each different color, we can give one computer each color, and it will compute it a lot faster. Now for this application, it's really simple, but when you get into much larger tasks, it will save you a lot of time to use our network. These job.on statements, we'll get to them later in the tutorial. We'll have some docs to explain which different ones are useful for which different use cases. But generally job.on will give you info on your job as it's executed in real time. So when different events are fired off, it will let you know when they did and what info they've given off at the time. So here I have one to tell me when my job's been accepted and what the ID is when it gets accepted. These other ones here, I won't go through them, but they'll be all in the docs if you guys are curious. To set my public name here, I just have to go into my job and set .public.name, and I can also set a description. This will just help when you're deploying to the network, so people who are on the demo scheduler will be able to see in real time what jobs that they're helping out compute for. It's also useful to note here, this job.exec is where you'll actually be sending it out to the network for you to compute. And there was an important reminder we added at the beginning that if you don't want to use up any of your credits and you just want to test out your program first, then you can specify local exec. And so what that will do is it will send it out to the network and it will allow your computer to work on it so that you don't use up your 25 credits. So make sure when you're testing your programs, local exec is great for that because you can test it as many times as you want. You can see here this whole main function that I was running in. I first required DCP client, which we installed in our npm packages. And after it's done initializing, we just call our main function. And after we've done all these tasks here in our main function, it will exit the process. This may be confusing for you guys to look at immediately. Don't be too daunted by it. There will be lots of guys here to help you out along the way, mentors like me, and a lot of other really, really smart guys on DCP. They'll be able to lead you along the way if you guys are confused at any point. So now I'll quickly go over how to launch it on a vanilla web as well. If you want to create like a front-end interface, or you even prefer working on vanilla web, then it's great to use on DCP as well. It works just as well. This way you can integrate it with HTML, CSS, and create this really nice design. It's actually really easy to integrate DCP with your web application of any kind, and that's to use a script tag. So at the beginning of any HTML file, you can add the script tag to the top of your file, and this way it will import the DCP client, which is everything you need to interface with our system. So I'll copy it here, save it for later, just in case I need it. So this script tag will generate a global object for you, and that global object will be called DCP. So anywhere after the script tag, you can access it and use it accordingly. If you don't know what that means, that's totally fine. We have a demo for you in JS Fiddle. Let me see if I can move my... I really wish I could move my camera here because it won't let me get to that. You guys see a button in the top right here. It's a blue button. Unfortunately, I can't click it because it won't show me. Okay, so I'll go over the tasks individually. That's totally fine. We're starting off with our HTML here. So see right at the head of the HTML, you can add the script tag. This is scheduler.distributed.computer and the DCP client. As I reminded you guys way before, it's totally okay if you forgot, but you want to make sure that when you're deploying, you deploy to demo.distributed.computer. If I could hit that button over there on the right, then I'd be able to show you.
Sorry, what's blocking it?
It lists all the people who have cameras on. Like I can see myself.
It should be a minus thing so you can minimize it.
I can minimize it?
Yeah, click on the...
Oh, there we go. Thank you, Dan. I've never used Zoom. There we go. Can you guys see that? I'm assuming yes. Okay. So, yep, just a reminder here, this is your HTML file. When you're importing the script tag, you just want to specify demo-scheduler. This way you'll be able to deploy fast, and we'll have lots of workers on the network to help you compute. You'll notice here we just created a button. We won't bother you guys with the HTML because you guys can create a much nicer interface, I'm sure, than this if you guys would like. So the first step when you're deploying on HTML, or when you're deploying vanilla JavaScript on the web, is to call this DCP global object that I specified before. The script tag that you're doing up here is automatically generating it, so you don't have to worry where DCP came from. So now that you have the compute aspect of DCP, you can use that to launch different jobs that you want. So for example, we have a button set up here, and when you click this button, it will launch a job. So it sends it to this launch job button, and what this will do is we create a new job with our DCP compute module. So if we do compute.for, or compute.do, sorry, this will create 10 different slices that we're going to send out to 10 different computers on the network. They'll all return at the end and gather our results so we can see them. Now the work here is pretty simple. all we're doing is taking I, which will be incremented for each computer. One computer will get 0, one will get 1, it would be 0 through 9. And so each one will take this I and multiply it by 10. So as you can sort of imagine, when we get all the results back, it's going to look like 0, 10, 20, 30. It's going to multiply each of these numbers by 10. Of course, when you guys are developing, if you feel free to expand upon this, is a super, super simple demo. We added some listeners here with the job.on that I talked about earlier. This one is listening for any console logs that the worker function did here. So if I were to type in console.log and say hi, it would pick that up and display it to your website. So I'm just going to delete that because we don't really need that. It will listen here for when the job's got accepted by the network, and then once again when it's completed, and it will show you the results after it's been completed. Here again, I've just given a name to the application and given a description, just make it a bit more helpful when it's being deployed, and then job.exec. And I'll go over once again, if you guys are testing and you guys don't want to use up your credits, it's really useful to use job.localexec. It's super easy, just like that. Everything's set up now so that your personal computer will work on the task and you don't have to use up credits. But when you're ready to deploy, it's just job.exec, and we'll test it out here. So I'm just making sure I got the demo scheduler. If I hit compute here, it will ask me for a key store that I want to use. And it recommends that you use your default key store, which we had downloaded before. So if I'm in my home repo, if you remember, I downloaded it here. Let's see, okay, here's my default key store. I'm going to hit open on it. You can remember your key store if you want. Oh, and that's because I forgot to rerun a demo scheduler. So now that it's running, I can choose my key store again. Default key store, open, submit. And if I want to go into the console here, you can see the new things that are being completed. It first said job accepted with all the info of the job that you sent in. It computed super, super fast. You already have your results in. As we expected, it's an array of 10 digits, and each one was multiplied by 10, each by a different computer. Super, super fast because it's a really easy task, and you've already got it back, and you can do whatever you want with that data. That's a very quick web example, and if you guys want to use this for reference, very easily, it's in the documentation. You click See Demo. Again, if you guys want this whole documentation, it will be linked in your email and again in the Discord pinned under General Channel. So, I actually went over a lot of this stuff. That's okay. I can explain again in depth if you guys are confused again. I'll go over a quick summary of some of the stuff which I missed here. So the main function you want to be using when you're creating your job is the compute.for method. So this compute.for method will specify how many slices you want to deploy to the system, and each different slice will be executed with a different number, whether it's 1 through 10 for your compute statement or anything. So if I have my input here, each function will be sent. There'll be 10 functions sent to the network, and n here will represent 1 through 10. Each computer will get a different n value. So you'll be able to split up all 10 processes at once. You can see here in this job, it takes whatever n is, whatever the computer has its number, it'll add 100 to it, and then it will multiply it again by that same number, n, and then return the result. So when you do a job.exec here or job.localexec, it'll run all that for you and retrieve the results. So it's very, very similar in vanilla web as I've gone over, but you just need to you just need to set a constant variable compute, which will be equal to DCP. DCP you got from your script tag, and now it's as simple as creating a new job. Here you can see instead of doing a number 1 through 10, we gave it an array of different values. So this way, if you want to send data to the distributed computer, then it will split these up where each element in the array will be sent to a different computer. So for this function, it takes in the color and it just prints it out to your screen and then returns the function. It's super simple. So if you did your job.exec, it would return all 3 colors where each one had to compute color. Okay. Sorry, I'm just reading a bit. Yeah, so one important note that you want to include in your worker function is this progress function. So this will give a bit of info on how quick your job's going to be. When you first start off your program, you can either enter progress 0 or progress just bracket. And if you're having a very intensive program, you can update your progress through the program as you see fit. If you can see here, we updated it with 50% because we thought that after adding 100, if there's 2 computations to be done, we'd be at 50%. So one thing that I want to go over one more time, if you guys want to read this more in depth, that's totally fine. It's linked to all you guys, but remember that you want to deploy locally when you're testing so that you don't use up all your credits. And as I said before, it's as simple as just specifying local exec instead of exec. So I've gone over some of this before, but here, let me minimize. Okay. So DCCs are the credits which you'll use to deploy your programs. And when you go here to your portal and you go to your accounts, you'll see I have 25 in my account. That means I have 25 DCCs. So that will be used up when you want to deploy tasks to the network. You can also gain more DCCs by going onto the portal and working more. That will not only help you by getting more credits, but will also help people who are trying to deploy their own applications. So, as I said here, there's another point that I want to address, which is you can add listeners for your job. And so there's many different listeners, and you use the job.on function, but these will give you info on what's happening during your computations. So if you want to see when the job's been accepted by the program, you use a job.on accepted. And you can see some of that syntax right here. When the job's accepted, we'll just print to the console job.accepted. And you can do it with many different event names here. So we have lots of demos here. If you guys want to check them out, they'll all be here as a JS Fiddle. If you guys want to mess around with the code, try it out. You can edit in JS Fiddle. A lot of these are very, very simple demos, which will each show you an individual use case of the system. And feel free to start your projects here. You can try it out, see if it works, and then build upon it. These different ones will be checking the results if you after you deploy a program, listening for console logs that you put in your program. So if you want to print intermediate results in your worker function, you can do that with job.on console. And then you can also listen for any errors that may happen in your program. This is throwing a new error, so we're purposefully having an error in this function. But if anything goes wrong in your function, you can put a job.on error to get some more info on why it failed. So there's a few things I want to go over. If using Node, there's a few modules that you're able to grab if you want. Not all of these are needed, but the most important ones you're going to want to look at are DCP Compute, DCP Client, and DCP Wallet. So DCP Client was the first thing that we installed with NPM, and that will allow you to connect to our network. And if you want to actually send a compute function, use dcp.compute. And if you want to, when you're deploying, you need to specify a wallet in which to pay with. And so you use DCP Wallet with that. There's also more documentation on all these other ones that can be used for other programs if you see fit. So I'll leave it there for you guys to check out later. It's also worth noting that DCP does support WebGL, and this can be used for parallel processing. It'll allow rendering, and it'll be really useful for neural networks and other GPU intensive tasks. Graphics will be very useful for this. I think that's all I wanted to note for that. If you guys want to read more about GPU, you can check that there. and check how you want to specify your properties in order to run a program on a GPU instead of just a CPU. So I hope you guys learned a bit from this tutorial. Now it's time for you guys to start. You're able to boot up your own program, try it out, follow the steps I've gone through. If you have any questions, I mean, I'll be here tonight and tomorrow to answer questions on the Discord, as well as a few other mentors throughout the weekend. They're more than happy to help. So make sure to shoot us a message at any point. There's documentation if you guys feel like getting a better read through or exploring how to expand your coding. But I'll pass it off back to Topaz, and happy coding, guys. Good luck.